weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs. Cecil, you and I have talked about how these defenses match up.
Right.
Both of the offenses are actually pretty similar, despite one having Patrick Mahomes on it. The numbers, at least, aren't that much off on both sides of it. So this is a game that I look at. All right, Baltimore, we thought maybe it would have been a little bit more high scoring. I'm kind of going the exact opposite on here. I think this will be a tough game. I think it's going to be both offenses struggling, maybe not to move the ball between the 20s, but to put points on the board when they do get into the red zone.
Yeah.
I look at this as more of a not because they're both there, but because of the style, a heavyweight fight where you're going to kind of a couple body blows early on to figure out who you are and how you react, and then trying to capitalize off a couple of those in the second half.
It's a heavyweight fight, and it's a low-scoring game, but the heavyweight fight is different because you have one team, the Chiefs, that use window dressing. You have one team, the Broncos, that do not. And by window dressing, I just merely mean pre-snap motion. The entire league is doing pre-snap motion except for Sean Payton. So, okay, if this is your style and you're going to just go in and play straight-up football, basically, very little play action, very little pre-snap motion. It's just not what Sean Payton is doing this year. Can you introduce a little bit more? I'm not saying copy KC. No one should do that. You can't really do that because they have Mahomes. They have Kelsey. You don't have anyone near Travis Kelsey. So can you just add in a little bit more wrinkles for Bo? Specifically. And with motion, basically all you're telling is it man or is it zone? How are the Chiefs playing you? And it's a Steve Spagnuolo defense. You're going to have Bo Nix's toughest challenge is right now. It is Sunday. So how do you respond? Help him out by just giving him that little tip. He's going to go to the line. He's going to identify the mic. Then give him that little tip with pre-snap motion. Is it man? Is it zone? Where should I go with the ball? And keep things on time and on rhythm. I'd like short passing to supplement what you're not getting from the ground game. And, man, if you can get somebody, and, again, it's like 60 yards, so I'm not asking for much. But if you can get somebody to run the ball better, that's only going to help you when it comes to pre-snap motion and trying to expose what Spags has got planned for you on a play-by-play basis.
Mm-hmm. And there's also the fact we talked about some of the Chiefs' numbers earlier, 209 yards allowed a game in the air, under 84 on the ground.
Right.
What do you think those numbers? We'll do our prop predictions and stuff tomorrow. But
sure.
Just an early preview on what the Broncos numbers has to be, passing yards, rushing wise. I mean, you're talking about 60 yards by an individual. 100 collectively, I think, is fair because it keeps you balanced off through the offense. And then with Bo, like I said, I think there's chances to be successful between the 20s, and then things are going to get tight in the red zone. But I still look at this as, hey, this is a game where Bo's going to probably have to throw close to 250 and find the end zone a couple of times through the air.
Yeah, and I would say let's just put that number at 225 and see what he can do there.
Okay, that's
For
fair.
me specifically, it's what they do also in the red zone. So if the numbers are, let's just say, can you go over 80? Can you get 100 yards rushing as a team, including Bo's rushing yards? And that could be significant, as we saw a couple of weeks ago, could be 75 yards on 10 carries. I'm not asking him to do that. I don't think he needs to do that in this game, but it's just the rhythm of keeping the chains moving, using time of possession, and using that as an extra defender against Pat Mahomes, who, of course, can go nuts on you at any moment, at any time. But when you get into the red zone, I don't want to see Will Lutz for 3. I want to see touchdowns. This means Cortland Sutton. This means Jaleel McLaughlin. You've talked about speed and space. This is that sort of game where you want the long drive, but then you want 7 points, not 3, because the pressure added to them is what you can use as an advantage for your defense because they are going to use a lot of pre-snap motion. But here's the key. You can use pre-snap motion, and you don't really know what Sean Payton's going to do. Every week it's a trick play. It might be multiple trick plays, but every week it's something different. With Kansas City, I'm here to tell you right now, it's feeding DeAndre Hopkins in the red zone, and it's, 12 targets for Travis Kelsey, and that's not easy to defend. But what they do, they try to make you look all different ways. They're running the same plays. They're running the same plays out of just slightly different formations and then slightly different, somebody different in motion.
Well, and
it's the same damn play.
That's why Travis Kelsey is so damn good, because they are running familiar formations and similar plays.
Right.
But Travis is doing, on 10 different plays, he's doing 9 different things. And how do you adjust to that? And he's playing the zone. He's playing basketball. Oh, you're on this side? I'm going to turn around and box you out on this side.
Yep.
You're going to play my right shoulder? I'm going to turn to my left shoulder. I'll pivot that way so that I have a 2-foot window that Patrick Mahomes plays. So you're absolutely right, but that's what it is. All right, who is it It's not Cody Barton. It's not really any of those linebackers. Is it McMillian, who's probably too small? Is it PS2? But then what do you do on the outside?
Right.
It's that Travis Kelce who we've said it now, man. The last 2 weeks, he's got his first touchdown, his first 100-yard game. Probably wouldn't be surprised at all if he puts the two together this week against the Broncos and has over 100 and a touchdown. Doesn't mean the Broncos can't go steal a game, but that's going to be a big thing. And I'm glad you said that because it's not a ton of, hey, we have to prepare for this. This is what Travis does. It's in game. How do you adjust to him on the fly on 3rd down and 3 when he just did something different on 2nd down?
Yeah, he's like toothpick and don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood. I was fooling y'all. Yeah. Those was jokes. Like, that's all he does is he's going to start out and he's going to make you go one way. It's a perfect option route. It's basically choice routes.
Every time.
That's why it's so hard to defend. It's difficult to defend because you're going to set up pre-snap motion, the window dressing to distract your defense, like over here, everybody. And then Kelce's just going to run out there, whatever leverage you give him, he's going to take the opposite, and he's going to be wide open. So you have to be good with your eyes. One thing that they were not good with Zay Flowers specifically in the Baltimore Ravens game, they weren't good with their eyes because they're watching Lamar, they're waiting for Lamar to do something dazzling with his legs, and he wasn't ever going to do that. That wasn't their plan. They dared him to beat him through the air, and he did. He was ready for your challenge. So with Pat Mahomes now getting his game going this year, it's amazing to think his first touchdown in October was 2 weeks ago at the end of October. So now he's kind of on a roll. DeAndre Hopkins there added in. Travis Kelce's kind of sparked in a way that he wasn't earlier this season. So that means the deception that's going to go on, it's not just the window dressing. You can account for that by just being disciplined and they're changing, but we know what we're calling the play. We're running it as we call it. But damn it, your eyes, you can't get caught staring into those. I think he has blue eyes. You can't get caught staring into the blue eyes of Pat Mahomes. Kev, do some research. What color eyes does Pat Mahomes have? You can't get caught looking at where he's trying to fool you. This is where the no-look passes come into play. This is where Kelce comes back into play. And they just have almost this mind meld where he knows where he's going to be on every time. Every single time.
Is that real?
Yeah, he's got brown eyes.
Brown eyes.
The brown eyes.
One of my sources.
Okay.
Per source. Again. Something else I think is interesting about this Chiefs team, and you're talking about what the offense is and what Mahomes has not done throughout this season, even though they're 8-0. Dude, they rush the ball over 30 times a game.
Yep.
31 attempts a game is where they rush the football. And I started to watch some of the highlights and stuff, and I don't go as deep as you because I get to lean on you for that. But it's not like there's these giant holes. They're just so steady. And even a guy like Kareem Hunt now is, when there's not a big hole, he's still turning that into 3 yards, 3.5 yards.
Right.
That's going to be a big challenge. The good news is Zack Allen, John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, and DJ Jones. They've been outstanding thus far against the run.
Yes.
Until last week.
Until last week when they were double-teaming Zack Allen, when they were taking him out of the play. Allen's talked about it this week, and he talked in the locker room yesterday, and it's something that they are working on. And it's basically creating space. If you're going to double team me, I'm going to create space for my other teammates. Now, what do I do? Instead of fighting against the block, do I kind of go with it to create a gap for a fellow defender to go through? Maybe. And it's these stunts and twists you used to see years ago with Derek Wolfe and Von Miller, right? And I've always said Von owed Derek some money, which Derek liked, by the way. Because
Derek wanted that money, too.
Exactly. Because it's a two-man game. Well, with Zack Allen against the Baltimore Ravens, it was more Allen's getting double teamed and he's fighting against it, and no one else is getting open, so to speak. No one else is getting penetration, essentially. This week, they are making a concerted effort to do that. And the reason Kareem Hunt can take something that's blocked for 2 and turn it into 3 is because you're so worried about the passing game. I would say, and again, not conceding anything, but let Kareem Hunt beat you. Drop 8, rush 3, fly to the football. This is where a Quan Alexander can make plays, a Cody Barton can make plays against the run. If they're going to run, if they choose to run, good. That's a win. It's a win when Pat Mahomes isn't slicing you up through the air. So if you can kind of rope-a-dope them and lullaby them to sleep because they're running and you're running and you've got long drives and you're getting 7 and they've got to drive now, but you're taking the pass away, you're complicating things. It's the picture, it's the image that you want to create for Pat Mahomes. Like, this one's going to be tough. Let's just hand off the ball. If you're doing that, that's a win. And then there's the secret weapon. And I hate this secret weapon. Now, I like him as a person.
Okay.
But I hate the secret weapon that's Samaje Perine.
Oh, damn.
And not because...
I actually forgot that Samaje was on the Chiefs.
And not because, like, he totally knows exactly what you're going to do. But it's because what he does, you haven't been proven to stop. there is a wheel route coming. I'm going to say it again. There's a wheel route coming to Samaje Perine that might go for 6.
That Cody Barton's
Are you going to be ready?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be ready? Or is Barton going to have his back to him and Mahomes just going to drop it over, a little feather pass right there and right in the bucket? And then Samaje, who'd love to take it to you, there's nothing more than Samaje would love than to beat up on the Denver Broncos. That is a problem. What he does best, you're weak at.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm Kansas City, if I'm Andy Reid, and you know Andy Reid on that giant Waffle House menu, he's going to have that Samaje Perine section, and Samaje Perine could be the difference maker in this game, which could be very low scoring and tight. We're talking about one wheel route that could be 6 that could make the play for Kansas City.
I got another name for you that I'm a little worried about as well, and it's Xavier Worthy. I thought this is where you were going, but I forgot Samaje. And Xavier Worthy, we're talking about DeAndre Hopkins. You're talking about Travis Kelce. I think Noah Gray is a pretty good option if Travis isn't popping the way that he can. But Xavier Worthy, that's a guy. Talk about speed and space for the Broncos.
Yep.
Man, we've seen it a couple of times. He's the little pop pass to Xavier who's in motion. I don't know why it's worked, but like he fakes a little chip block. He's 160 pounds. And then that little float that we've seen from Patrick Mahomes over the top to get him in speed and space. That's something that I worry about, too, because so much focus with PS2 and DeAndre Hopkins on the outside, so much focus with linebackers or nickel corners through the middle of the field with tight ends. What does that mean for Xavier Worthy as a little check down or pop pass where he breaks the edge and then it becomes a foot race between the Broncos and Xavier Worthy? That could be bad for the Denver Broncos.
I've called Riley Moss a top 10 corner in this league, and I believe that he is there. Or if you don't, then I'd say he's trending there. Mm-hmm. Top 20 at least. Let's be optimistic here. He's truly a special corner. He had a terrible game against Zay Flowers. Just terrible.
You're right.
Now, Devin Key had a bad game. PJ Locke back at practice. I saw PJ in the locker room. I didn't get to talk to him, but I so want to talk to him. I'll talk to coordinators today. But, if PJ Locke can be out there and not Devin Key, that's a bonus for your team. But if it's Riley Moss specifically, a first-round receiver, just like Zay Flowers. Now, Worthy's not the route runner, and he's not Zay Flowers is a blankety-blanker. Like, he goes at you,
But that's why they just give him little pop slip and check downs because he can't run the routes.
He can't run the routes. So if you're Riley Moss, who always wants the attention, one of the great things about talking to Riley every week is he never shies away. He had a terrible game. He didn't shy away from that. He didn't sort of try to flavor it up. And, hey, what had happened was, you don't ever want to be that guy, the what had happened was guy, right? Because it just means you're making excuses. Riley Moss doesn't make any excuses for his play. He knows he's got to play better. I believe he can play better. But against Xavier Worthy, that guy's got like Nightcrawler speed where he just shows up. He teleports to Deshaun Jackson, right? Where he just shows up. He wasn't there, and then he's over here. Like, what did he do? Oh, he's transferring portals, right? When I talk college football, we're talking him opening up time and space to go down the field and be behind you before you even know it. So Riley Moss has a big matchup with a little guy, and be good with your eyes. If I see Xavier Worthy coming at me with his hands up like he's going to block, I'm like, I hope this guy tries to block me.
I'm going to run through you. Not me, but the player in the NFL.
Right, Riley Moss. If I see Xavier Worthy coming at Riley Moss, these guys' little hands up, great. I'm ready for him to put his hands down and take off and run because that guy can fly.
By the way, I know who Nightcrawler is. I think he's awesome. I think he's one of the most underrated
X-Men
ever. Nightcrawler's awesome.
I'm glad you got that reference.
Nice. Thank you.
Yes.
But do you agree, or am I in over my skis? Like
no.
He's a stupid X-Men that everyone hates.
No. He's not Jubilee or whatever.
Okay.
He's a good X-Men. A good X-Men.
And look, it's going to be tough to beat Storm in my mind, but Nightcrawler's a close second there.
Halle Berry Storm or cartoon Storm?
Halle Berry Storm.
It's tough to beat Halle Berry,
Makes me feel weird on the insides when I see her.
It's awesome. And you've got to be awesome. You've got to be good with the Storm.
Nice.
There's your segue.
There you go.
That you're going to get from Kansas City because they are starting to hit their stride. And they're undefeated right now, and there is no Lions hangover. If you look around the NFL, look at teams that have actually beat the Lions, and then the next week, Broncos took advantage of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep.
They beat the Lions. Everyone is getting up for the Lions. Everyone is getting up for the Chiefs because they are the best team in football. I hate them. But they're the best team in football. How do the Broncos respond? As Gary Kubiak would say, we're fixing to find out. By the way, you may be watching us on YouTube. If you are, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid.
There you go. You always find us on YouTube
Yes.
there. One quick question. We want to talk some Nuggets here too, but Sean Payton mentioned this, and I didn't realize this until Sean said it. The field at Arrowhead, it's going to get a lot of use over here in the next 6 days, and what does that mean for this game?
Look, weather forecast Sunday, 59 degrees, 10-mile-an-hour winds. I do think the field will be something we have to pay attention to. They had rain last night. They also have a college game Saturday on this grass surface. And the weather for Saturday is a heavy rain forecast. So we'll have to make sure we're prepared for that.
All right, so that's kind of what caught me by surprise. So that'll be 3 games on this field in 6 days?
Wow.
That doesn't seem like the right play for the NFL. And I know KU's getting a new stadium, so they
Sure,
have to play
right.
there on Saturdays.
Right.
In fact, the Buffs will in a couple of weeks. But, man, it's not like, the Chiefs aren't Robson Walton and Greg Penner. They're not rolling out $500,000 for one game of football like they did a couple of years ago. Are you worried about the surface on Sunday?
Actually, it can be an advantage for you because it'll
really?
slow down Kansas City.
Great point.
And if it's a mud game, get your mudders on. That's where Audric Estime can have that breakout. That's where Javonte, if Javonte can do what he should, and I'm not even talking about like old Javonte. I'm just saying we've seen a couple of games. Most games Javonte has been bad this year. There's been a couple of games when he's been good or even really good. Can we get that sort of performance on what could be a muddy track? And if it's a muddy track, then it leans on the ground game. It leans on more deception because you know where you're going offensively.
Yeah.
This is where play action passing. Again, so Sean Payton, I know you want to do certain things. I know you don't want to do certain things like pre-snap motion or play action passing. If you could do just a little bit more because they're not expecting it.
Mm-hmm.
The film is out there. So all of a sudden, if your trick play is actually just play action, I think it'll work.
Right. Well, let me ask you something real quick before we go on. Does he not want to do pre-snap motion, or can he not stop talking in the headset so they don't have enough time to do pre-snap motion?
It might be the latter, or just the fact that if you're not running, they're going to do play action. You're like, well, you're not running. We're going to let Javonte Williams. That's the KC. That's Spagnuolo's plan right now. I guarantee you that's Spagnuolo's plan. We're going to let Javonte Williams beat us. Okay?
If he says it like